Well, we're joined now by the Transport Secretary Chris Grayling. Can I ask you first of all what difference this money will make to rail users?
Well, most significantly, it'll do two things. First of all, it'll take around 10 minutes off the journey time between Leeds and London, Newcastle and London, and indeed from Manchester to Newcastle. It's not just about links to London. There'll also be space on the railway for more trains, an additional train running north of Doncaster, and twice as many trains, or an additional 2 trains rather, running south of Doncaster. And then there's also, with the arrival of the new intercity express fleet in the next few months, going to be far more seats for passengers on the East Coast Main Line. So all round, this is a big modernisation programme for the East Coast Main Line, really the biggest since the steam age.
The West Yorkshire Combined Transport Authority have responded today by saying this has all been announced before, and unless there's a definitive timetable put in place, it's really just old news repackaged.
Well, the definitive timetable is the work's going to start at Christmas time. So, this is not something that's a distant promise for the future. It's about to start. These improvements are very necessary. The first of the new trains on the East Coast Main Line will arrive around the end of this year. So this is about tangible improvement about to start.
It's very welcome, of course, but while all this is going on, we've got this what can only be described as a summer of discontent still going on our TransPennine routes. Passengers continuing to suffer from cancellations. Compensation is being talked about, but that's in the future. They're just going to say, what can you do for us now?
Well, of course, the issue this summer has been enormously frustrating and passengers have had a really tough time. The irony is that the reason we've had the problems is because of the failure to complete on time the electrification of the line from Manchester to Blackpool. So it's ironically a big investment programme that's been delayed that's caused all of the problems. The timetable has now stabilised. Doesn't mean there's no problems at all, and we continue to work as hard as possible to get the train companies to sort out the problems. And I hope as we go through the year we'll actually not only have a stable timetable but actually more services being introduced for passengers. And of course what we start to see this autumn, which I think will make a real difference, is the arrival of the new trains. Every single train in the north of England on the TransPennine franchise and on the Northern Rail franchise is being replaced. All the knackered old trains that should have gone to the scrapyard years ago are now going to the scrapyard. So people are now going to see real improvements. But I'm really sorry about the troubles this summer. It's been frustrating. There is compensation for passengers in the worst affected areas.
Do you actually take responsibility?
But it's really important we now get on and deliver the modernisation.
Are you actually taking responsibility? Because you have rather been saying it's not your problem.
Well, I don't take responsibility for an engineering problem that's been delayed. I take responsibility for trying to make sure that I work with Transport for the North, because these franchises are jointly managed between Transport for the North and my department, and making sure we sort things out for passengers as soon as we can.
Is it time now, though, to bow down to the calls from business leaders and civic leaders in the North and let power and money come to the North, be devolved to the North, so that we can organise our own transport systems? Because at the moment, we're dependent on a government which does seem to favour investment in the South.
Well, let's deal with this. This is absolute nonsense. We have announced in the last few months the best part of £5 billion of investment in the railways in the North. The railways in the North are getting the biggest investment programme since the steam age. Brand new trains all across the region. The upgrade today to the East Coast Main Line. The flagship project for the next 5 years, the upgrade to the TransPennine route from Manchester to York. Right now, Liverpool Lime Street Station is closed because it's being rebuilt. There's investment. No, these are things happening today. Liverpool Lime Street Station is closed today for a big modernisation programme that's happening right now.
Well, transport leaders here and people in this part of the world have basically been describing your handling of the whole situation as totally inept. They say it's time for you to stand down and let someone else sort out what has been a complete fiasco.
I make no apology for the fact this government is spending more on transport in the North. Investment programmes happening right now, new trains about to arrive. I passed one of the trial trains today on the East Coast Main Line on a test run. This is what this government and what's happening under my watch is delivering. Now, what's happened for the timetabling in the summer has been hugely disappointing, but it's actually happened because of a big investment programme that's been delayed, and we're doing our best to get that sorted out as quickly as possible. But I say to transport leaders in the North, if you look across the things that are happening right now, the upgrades that are taking place in the Manchester area, about to start the East Coast Main Line, and indeed on the roads where we've just opened the last leg of motorway Great Road between London and Newcastle, something that should have happened decades ago. The new trains are about to arrive, the Smart Motorways programme that's taking place across the M62. These are things happening right now and about to start. It's the biggest investment programme in transport for a long time.
I know, but that is not much comfort to people sitting on two-carriage trains when the previous two have just been delayed, as I found out myself only a few weeks ago. But it's not just the TransPennine route. We've got HS2 in the balance here. We don't really know whether it's going to be happening. Costs seem to be spiralling. In the meantime, we've got hundreds of homeowners whose homes are blighted because they can't sell them, because they might or might not be on the route.
Well, HS2 is happening. The legislation to deliver it, its first two stages going through Parliament, the third stage in preparation. The construction works, the enabling works have already started in places. And of course, we've just announced the new depot for HS2 we built on the outskirts of Leeds. We're seeing businesses starting to move to Leeds because of the transport investment that's taking place in and around the city. So this is a government that is committed to delivering much better connections to the north. Today's announcement on the East Coast Main Line is one of the things we're doing now. And of course, HS2 in the future will bring huge benefits, not just to the links between London and those cities in the north, but actually between Birmingham and Nottingham and Sheffield and Leeds. Well, it's going to happen.
Sometime in the future, we don't know what the costs are going to be. Homeowners don't know whether it's going to affect their homes. But can I just say, you promised an inquiry into the whole situation at the end of last month. When are we going to get the results of that inquiry? And please don't tell us all we'll get is lessons have been learned.
Well, the key point is to understand how the timetabling transition in May went wrong in the way that it did. We've got a highly respected Professor Stephen Glaister, the chair of the Office of Rail and Road, carrying out the inquiry. I'm expecting initial results in September. And lessons do have to be learned because we have to make sure it doesn't happen again. But of course, the reason this happened wasn't because of some flight of fancy change. It was because on the Northern Rail franchise, we were in the process of introducing far more trains for passengers across the north. A change that will be reinforced this autumn by the arrival of brand new trains across the whole of the network. You talk about being stuck on a two-coach old train. That's why we are investing in the biggest programme of replacement of trains in the north since the steam age. That's starting now. The new trains are just beginning to arrive, and it's going to be a totally different railway when those trains have been delivered, when the upgrades have been completed. This is an investment programme that's designed to make the north a better connected place.
And you, as Transport Secretary, are going to stay in your post?
Well, I'll be in my post as long as Theresa May wants me to. But the important thing is this government is committed to delivering a better transport system for the north. And there are things happening now, projects already opened, more on the way, things happening right now that are about delivering a better transport system for the north. And my message to those northern leaders who keep saying nothing's happening when it is don't talk down the north. There is a huge investment programme happening right now that can help attract new investment and jobs to the north. They were involved in helping us design this investment programme. They should be going out and selling it, not complaining that nothing's happening when all around things are actually happening.
OK, Chris Grayling, Transport Secretary, thank you very much for joining us.